Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are preparing for the UGC NET Paper 1 exam, you already know that the communication unit is one of the highest scoring section if you know exactly how NTA frames the questions. And right at the heart of this unit is a topic that appears year after year, that is barriers to effective communication. Today we are breaking down the five major types of communication barriers that you need to know inside out. We will look at exactly what they mean, explore the key terms often tested in the exam, and look at real world examples so you never get confused between closely related concepts again. Alright, let's start with the first major category, that is the physical barrier. As you can see on the screen, physical barriers are essentially environmental or tangible factors that block or distort the transmission of a message from the sender to the receiver. They prevent clarity by placing a literal concrete obstacle in your way. Let's break down the four key subtypes you need to watch out for. First is the environmental factors and noise interference. Think about trying to listen to a lecture while a massive construction drill is operating right outside the classroom window. That literal external noise disrupts the sound waves. In the slide, this is depicted beautifully as extreme external noise and bad acoustics. If a room has terrible echo, the physical environment itself is actively working against clear communication. Next, we have physical separation and distance. If a sender and receiver are miles apart without proper tools, communication fails. Physical distance limits face-to-face interaction, preventing us from reading body language or hearing each other clearly. Faulty equipment. In our digital age, this is a huge. A poor Wi-Fi connection, a malfunctioning microphone during an online seminar, a broken telephone line, or a blurry webcam. These all are technical yet physical breakdowns in the medium of communication. And lastly, we have time zone difference. For global communication, time is a physical reality. If a university professor in India needs to coordinate a live research project with a university in New York, the half-day time difference creates a natural barrier to instant fluid communication. So, if a question describes a situation involving external surroundings, machinery, geography, or environmental noise, the answer is almost always a physical barrier. Keep it simple. Now, let's move inward. Let's look at psychological barriers, which are also sometimes referred to as emotional or attitudinal barriers. Unlike physical barriers that exist in the world around us, psychological barriers exist entirely inside our minds. They are the internal mental blocks and emotional states that deeply distort how we interpret a message. Let's explore the core elements shown here. Number one is premature evaluation. This is a classic human trait and a favorite topic for exam question. Premature evaluation happens when you jump to conclusion and judge a message before the sender has even finished explaining it. Your mind is already making a verdict, which means you have stopped actually listening. Secondly, we have selective perception or perceptual bias. We don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. If you look at the slide, you will see illustrations for perceptual bias and selective perception. This means we tend to filter out information that doesn't align with our current beliefs and only accept info that confirms what we already think. If a student dislikes a particular professor, they might look at an assignment and think the professor is totally unfair, regardless of what the rubric actually says. Next, we have anxiety and stress. When a person is experiencing high level of stress, fear, or anxiety, their cognitive capacity shrinks. A student experiences severe exam anxiety might literally misread a straightforward question on the paper because their emotional state is clouding their logic. Next, we have emotional filtering. If you are incredibly angry, happy, or deeply sad, your emotions act as a colored lens. A neutral comment from a colleague can sound like an insult if you are already feeling defensive. Next, we have lack of trust and credibility. If the receiver does not trust the sender, the message fails. Even if the sender is speaking absolute truth, a lack of credibility means the receiver will view the information with suspicion and skepticism. Remember, psychological barriers are all about mindset, emotions, and personal bias. Next up is category number three, and this is perhaps one of the most frequently tested concepts in paper one, that is semantic barriers. The word semantic relates to meaning in language. Therefore, semantic barriers arise when there is a misunderstanding regarding words, symbols, signs, or language itself. Even if the physical connection is perfect and both parties are calm, a semantic barrier can completely crash the conversation. Let's break down the examples highlighted. First one is differences in word meaning. Look at the brilliant graphic in the center of the image. It shows two people talking about a bug. One person, maybe a software developer, is thinking of a server bug, a glitch in a computer program. Meanwhile, the other person is thinking of an ant colony problem, an actual insect. They're using the exact same word, but their inner meanings are completely misaligned. Next, we have jargon and technical terms. Every profession has its own secret language known as jargon. If a doctor uses complex medical terminology while talking to a regular patient, or if a data scientist uses heavy mathematical phrasing with a beginner student, communication breaks down. The receiver hears the words but cannot extract the meaning. Next, we have ambiguity and language skill. If a message is poorly phrased, vague, or uses double meanings, it creates ambiguity. Poor vocabulary or a lack of proficiency in a language naturally prevents a person from accurately encoding or decoding a message. Key takeaway for your exam could be semantic barriers occur at a level of encoding and decoding language. If the issue is about interpretation of words, jargons, or symbols, label it semantic without a second thought. Moving on with our fourth category, that is cultural barriers. In our increasingly globalized world and diverse classroom, understanding cultural barriers is absolutely vital for educators. These barriers occur when people from different cultural backgrounds try to interact, but the unique values, norms, and traditions create friction. Let's look at how this manifests according to the image. Number one is differences in values, norms, and beliefs. What is considered polite, appropriate, or urgent in one culture might be seen as rude, inappropriate, or trivial in another. Then we have nonverbal cues and gesture difference. Did you know that a simple nod of the hand, a hand gesture, a nodding of the head, or making direct eye contact can mean completely different things across the globe? In some cultures, looking at elder or authority figures straight in the eyes is a sign of confidence and honesty, while in other cultures it is viewed as a direct sign of disrespect and defiance. Next, we have ethnocentrism. This is a crucial keyword for the UGC NET exam. Ethnocentrism is the belief that one's own culture is superior to all others, and evaluating other cultures solely based on your own standards. When a communicator is ethnocentric, they judge different cultural communication styles as wrong rather than as simply different, leading to severe miscommunication and bias. When you look at the graphic, you see different flags representing varied cultural backgrounds. Always remember, culture shapes how we communicate, both verbally and non-verbally. Finally, let's explore our fifth and final category, which is organizational barriers. These are barriers that arise due to structure, rules, regulations, and hierarchy within a specific institution, corporate office, or university. As detailed at the bottom of the slide, these barriers happen due to factors within an organization internal setup. It could be information distortion and rigid channel. Look at the diagram on the right side of the infographic showing top management passing down orders through layers of ground staff. As information travels down a strict hierarchy, it gets diluted, misinterpreted, or altered, much like the game of a Chinese whispers. By the time it reaches the bottom, the original intent is often lost. Secondly, we have strict hierarchy. When an organization has overly rigid power structures, lower level employees or junior researchers might feel too intimidated to speak up, share creative ideas, or report a problem to top management. This restriction of upward communication is a classic organizational barrier. Next, we have lack of clear communication lines. If there is no clear system or pathway for how information should be shared, employees end up confused about whom to report to, leading to missed deadlines and chaotic workflows. Next, we have information overload. We all have been there when you are hit with an excessive amount of data, hundreds of daily emails, endless memos, and constantly meetings. Your brain simply cannot process it all. This results in fatigue, stress, and missed details, causing communication to fail entirely. The infographic sums up perfectly with the pressures of work harder, more stress, and overtime required when organizational channels fail to function smoothly. Wow, as we have covered a massive amount of ground today, let's do a quick high-speed recap to look into your memory. Number one is physical barriers. Always remember it is the outside environmental obstacles like the noise, distance, or broken equipment. Next, we have psychological barriers, that is, the internal mental and emotional blocks. Always link it with emotional bias or premature evaluation. Thirdly, we have semantic barriers. Always remember it is linked to language, jargons, and words in multiple interpretations, like the bug example. Fourth, we have cultural barriers. It always shows the differences in global norms, body language, and ethnocentrism. And fifth, we have organizational barriers. Always remember it is linked to structural issues, rigid hierarchies, and information overload inside a system. Before we sign off, here is a quick practice question for you to drop in the comment section below. If a student fails to understand a lecture because the professor is using highly technical terms and advanced academic vocabulary, which type of barrier is taking place? Is it physical, psychological, semantic, cultural, or organizational? Leave your answers in the comments below and I will personally heart the correct answer. Thank you and we will meet again.